Our Bible reading this week is from Acts chapter 16 as we continue to make our way through the book, headed toward the end of the year.
Last turn towards the finish here.
Yeah, quickly approaching. So I think the impulse when we read Acts 16 is to think that we've turned the page
Right.
from the blow up,
The Jerusalem Council.
yeah, at Acts 15, and that we've moved on.
Right.
And so if you're looking for a big idea to watch for, not just in 16, but in 17 and beyond that, watch for the connection back to 15. I think it's pretty overt in the first 5 verses.
Right.
Certainly in verse 4, where the text says that the decrees that have been settled and sent out from Jerusalem are
Right.
now being publicized, which was
Right.
the plan, out
Right.
to the other churches.
Right.
But then you have this incident with Timothy,
And they circumcise him.
which almost seems
Right.
backward. If circumcision isn't required, then why does Paul require it of Timothy?
To take the issue off the table. At the end of the day, remember, Paul's pattern is to start in synagogues, not with Christians, but with Jews in their synagogues. And so just take that issue off the table with Jews he's trying to reach with the gospel in the first place, who won't have anything to do with Timothy if he's not circumcised.
Well, and so in one way, can I say this? That it means the issue isn't off the table.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be, because they're going to continue to struggle with this issue beyond Acts 15. And so I think in these first 5 verses, what we get is not a transition, but a connection, saying that 15 and this trouble there, that continues to be a factor all the way through. So
Right.
then the rest of the chapter, 6 through 40, we could really sort of earmark that with a city.
Yeah.
So it's about Philippi and the
Right.
gospel coming there. Though there is some oddly detailed introduction to that, isn't there? Headed into that section, and we begin that transition at 6, but it's not
Right.
till 12 before we get to Philippi.
Right. And there the emphasis is that God really is steering Paul towards Philippi with the Spirit, forbidding them to go into Asia. They literally go hundreds of miles out of the most natural way to go to Troas to get to Philippi. But clearly God wants that to be the next place Paul goes, not Asia, and Ephesus would have been the big city there, but it's not time to go to Ephesus yet. And so again, this is God's work and humans are just participating in it.
As you say that makes me think back to the phrase we encountered a lot in the Gospels about Jesus, my time has not yet come.
Yeah.
And that reminder he's on a divine timetable.
That's right.
And so since Luke is continuing the gospel story,
Right.
now we have that same thing, a divine timetable at
Right.
work and divine directions about where they're to go. The work in Philippi, I think if you wanted to structure the chapter, just structured around the 2 main characters.
Right.
You have Lydia first, who is responsive to the gospel when they go look for a place to pray.
Right.
And then picking up in 23, you have the jailer, who is next to be converted. And that sort of continues our Gentile theme, right?
Right.
Because we have this Gentile jailer who is remarkably, I think, responsive to the gospel.
Sure. Well, he had reason to be after seeing a display of divine power, not to mention Paul and Silas's response to their unjust abuse that they had been dealt there by the city officials.
Yes, and in fact, it gets even interesting later, where Paul will use every advantage for the advance of the gospel. And so here at the end of the chapter, he's employing his Roman citizenship.
Correct.
You don't see him doing that very much.
No.
But it plays well here.
Well, Philippi was a Roman colony, and so it was a really big deal to be a Roman colony, to be a Roman, officially Roman city in occupied Europe there. But part of it too is, people think, well, Paul's just being vindictive, making them come and bring them out personally. But I think what Paul's doing is actually giving cover to the Christians he's leaving behind there, that putting the gospel on better footing. This was not some sort of rabble rousing. This was a Roman citizen bringing a legitimate message, and the people he's leaving behind aren't to be troubled by the magistrates either.
And maybe it isn't reading too much to contend that, reading too much into it, I should say, to contend that it also buys him some time here because
Absolutely.
in 39 they want him out.
That's right.
Want you to leave town,
right.
but he doesn't. At least
That's right.
I mean, I don't know what the time was, but before he leaves town, he goes back and he encourages the brethren. So
Right.
he does get a little bit of time out of that
Right.
to go and do that last little bit of work. So
Right.
Acts 16. Don't cut your ties with 15. Think about the connection of the Gentile controversy and how it continues to thread through the reading over the next several chapters.